If you've worked on a Scrum team for any length of time, you've probably heard or maybe said things like,
"We could be so much better if only leadership understood Agile."
or,
"We'd get more done if only the culture here was different."
and you're not wrong. It's true that culture matters. But it's also true that if you wait for the organization to change before improving how your team works, you might be waiting a long time. Now, what I'm about to share isn't a fix for every problem your team might face. Think of it as a set of simple, practical shifts you can try right away. The benefit is they don't require buy-in from leadership or months of effort. They're small levers your team can pull now, and they can start making a noticeable difference quickly. In over 20 years of working with Scrum teams, I've seen significant gains happen inside the team's own bubble through actions they control without needing permission. Here are 5 practical ways you can get started. Power up your retrospectives. Retrospectives can easily drift into management should territory, especially when the wider organization isn't fully on board with Scrum. The problem is, when you do that, you give up your agency before you've even tested what's possible. A simple shift is to focus only on actions the team can take themselves. One team I worked with kept a running list of past action items in a shared document, and they reviewed it at the start of every retro. Seeing those completed items reminded them that change was possible and already happening. Something you can try is ending each retro with just one improvement the team commits to finishing before the next sprint review. And make it visible so everyone can see the problem you want to solve or improvement you want to make, and that you're working as a team to make it happen. A team without a shared, inspiring purpose is really just a work group. When you've got a purpose that's both motivational and actionable, it pulls people together and sharpens every improvement effort. My next tip is to make sure you and your team have that shared purpose and vision. That purpose can take different forms. For example, one company I worked with served expectant mothers and their parents. Their vision, your parenting partner, aligned every team around helping women achieve healthier, less stressful pregnancies. It was short, memorable, and drove decisions across the organization. Another team I coach, working in bioinformatics, rallied around the question, what if all medical treatment could be personalized to a patient's DNA? That question fueled creativity and kept them focused on breakthrough possibilities. And sometimes the purpose is a challenge. A SaaS product team set a goal to double activation rates in 3 months. Bold enough to inspire, yet concrete enough to guide backlog priorities. Their energy spread across departments, amplifying results. A practical step in this situation is to work with your product owner to frame a sprint or release goal as a challenge the whole team wants to win. Here's a trap I see all the time. Teams debate endlessly about the right way to do Scrum. Instead of theorizing, agree to test a new approach for 2 sprints before deciding. My grandmother used to say, take 2 bites before you decide you don't like something. The same applies here. One sprint often feels too different to judge it fairly. I saw this when a team tried 2-week sprints after a year or 2 of 4-week sprints. The first sprint felt chaotic. The second was smoother, and that's when they could really decide, and they chose to keep 2-week sprints. An easy way to put this into action is to hold off on debating changes after the first sprint. Wait until the second, and then decide. When one person, often a Scrum Master or tech lead, assigns all the tasks, it sends an unspoken signal. Decisions come from above. That kills ownership, and it makes it harder for people to believe they can influence how the work gets done. I worked with a team where all work was allocated by the tech lead on day 1. By day 7, priorities had shifted, but the plan stayed fixed. Bottlenecks piled up, people were idle, and frustration grew. When that team moved to self-selection of work, it flowed faster. And something more important happened. The team began making process tweaks on their own. Instead of what's left on your list, a question you could start asking in daily scrums is, what should we tackle next? That tiny shift keeps the focus on the team's sprint goal. Scrum's no changes in a sprint rule is there to protect the sprint goal, but real life brings urgent requests. The answer isn't to pretend interruptions will never happen, it's to plan for them. Maria, a Scrum Master I worked with, negotiated a small buffer with stakeholders each sprint. That made buffer use visible, sometimes just a simple progress bar. That visibility kept conversations factual and prevented scope creep. One simple experiment you could run here is to size your buffer based on past interruptions and make its usage visible so everyone understands the trade-offs. Even if the wider organization isn't living and breathing Agile, your team can create a pocket of high-trust collaboration and continuous improvement. One team I worked with created their own vision, swarmed on work to meet sprint goals, and kept a transparent, well-maintained backlog. They couldn't change the company overnight, but their results got noticed and other teams asked how they did it. When teams perform in this way over time, stakeholders tend to notice. Other teams may follow your example, and culture change can begin from the inside out. These kinds of improvements can put your team on a really strong path. And if you want to take things even further, making sure everyone is aligned around the same version of Scrum, we can help. Working on a Scrum team is a live online course designed to help good teams become even better. Instead of sending one role at a time to separate training, teammates can train together so everyone hears the same message, practices the same exercises, and leaves with a unified approach you can apply the very next sprint. You'll leave this class with a shared, agreed-upon definition of roles, responsibilities, and done, hands-on experience in planning, estimating, and refining backlogs, a common language for tackling challenges without finger-pointing or stalling. You don't need to wait for a company-wide Agile transformation to get stronger as a team. You can start right where you are with the people you work with every day. If you want to take a good Scrum team and make it great, aligned, confident, and ready to deliver, this course will help you get there. Check out the link in the description to learn more.